Well, good afternoon, everybody. So we are going to get to know Bradley Johnson, who is the man behind the colorful glasses and outfits and great sneaker collection. Bradley, tell us your full name. You have to unmute, Bradley.
No, no, I was about to. You said tell you my what?
Your full name.
Oh, my Bradley Keith Johnson. Uh,
All
in,
right.
just so people know, my first name has no E in it, and that was intentional. My dad took the E out, so I would always have to correct people, and they would remember who I am.
Nice. Kirsten, you may need to mute, folks. Bradley, unmute again. So what brought you to Build?
Well, I would say Adam did. However, I've known about Bill since I started my career back in 1991 when I worked at Juvenile Detention Center. And that's where I ran into Bill while I was in the school area of the facility and seeing Bill there. But the other thing that brought me to Bill was in doing community engagement work. I just really have a passion for our West Side communities and happen to be at meetings. And this was during a time when everything was like really rough during that Ronner administration. And so I happened to be at a meeting. Adam was there as well. And we were talking about our community. There's two sides to what we do. And there's two sides to our community. There are the things that you're going to see in the media, but then there's the reality. There are tons of assets that are never focused on. And we started talking about that, and that kind of bloomed into the summer of opportunity. What went from a march down the street became a parade and a huge festival that took over a park. And then from there on, I wasn't even working at Build, but I ended up being on Channel 7 News representing Build to promo that summer of opportunity. And then thereafter that, I came to Build as the director for community engagement and strategic partnerships.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. That's right. Well, Bradley, get on TV quick. Yeah, that's right. It felt like you worked for Bill during that time because the amount of planning and work it took. So, obviously, the investment you had was deep even at that point. So tell us, where did you grow up, Bradley?
I grew up right down the street from Build, less than a mile away on Laramie, on the 551 North Laramie, right down the street. And coincidentally, my dad used to work for Shore Bank, where Build is housed. And except my father was a contractor and a painter and everything. And so we actually worked inside of the building. But I grew up in the Austin neighborhood. We lived, worked, done a lot of things here, in the Austin neighborhood.
That's awesome. So talk about a full circle moment. Here you are living down the street, your dad working here. So what a way to kind of think about the legacy of the Johnsons, right? And here you are. Um so talking about how you grew up, was there some part of your childhood or growing up or as a young person that you would say there were some hard times, and if you could think of one, what would that be? And then what was easy for you or what were some of the good times?
Yeah, well, growing up, I think I tell people about the history of Austin, and my family moved there. I was a year old, so it was about 1970 that we moved into Austin, and I would say it was idyllic. We got the house because I have eight siblings. It was nine kids, and for us to have a home with grass, my brother and I, he's a year older than I, we love grass. Grass, 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 Daddy, and we had a big yard. And so we moved there into that house. I want to say because we love the grass, but it's because we needed a bigger house. And it had six bedrooms.
Mm.
So we were able to get a house. Um, but over that, within a decade, by 1980, the neighborhood shifted. Anybody who knows history know about redlining, white flight, all these other things that took place. And a lot of resources started coming into the community, and then drugs and gangs and all that kind of took hold 80s and 90s, where I couldn't wait to leave the community. Although I had a strong family, a lot of love, lots of support, had all these things. In school, I did well. So I was in the gifted program. So I was kind of shielded and protected. I had people protecting me from day one throughout my life and guiding me. And so I was able to, leave and do things because I didn't have any positive connection in the community. None. There was nothing that I looked back on that community and said I wanted to be there. And so I couldn't wait to leave. And so during those 80s and while I was in high school, I was like, I gotta go because I couldn't take it anymore. And so I kind of constructed a way of doing that. And I kind of left out the neighborhood. But I would say the toughest part was seeing the community disintegrate, families disintegrate, crime and violence kind of spiked, and it just was not where I wanted to be.
Yeah. But here you are, back, and able to really support the community that you grew up in that, helped you be who you are today, in a multitude of ways, as you said. So I think it's super cool as, again, part of the full circle moment. So describe a time in your life, Bradley, when someone really reached out and helped you, where you could be like, I remember Mr. or Miss so and so, and this is what they did.
I would say that was when I was in my early adulthood. And this is actually when I started working at Juvenile Detention Center. I mean, before that, I took some classes and I had some professors that kind of woke me up to my responsibilities. I'll say two things. When I was in at Columbia College, the first school I went to, I was an art major initially, but I took this class, Writings of Black Protest, and that was the first time I actually thought about myself as an African American man and my responsibility. Before that, like I said, I have been like protected and shielded and mentored and all that. And so, but honestly, it made me think like I was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And anything I succeeded at was because of my greatness. And it made me reflect on all the things that were poured into me. And this one professor, Mr. Jones, he just kind of talked and shared about that information. And it made me see myself in a different light, but also my responsibility that I've been giving a lot. I've been given a lot, and I have a lot of tools, but I have to give back. And then the other thing was Mr. Jones at the Juvenile Detention Center when I started working there. And he taught me how to work with system impacted young people, understand their language, how they think, but also that they're human beings. And then to really say, what would I do in those shoes to really understand the path they come from? And then if I'm going to help them, I have to understand that. So that was important.
Mm. So you've had a lot of experiences, obviously, and you talked about someone who helped shape your life, two different sort of situations. But if you look at step back and collectively, how's your own background informed your current work today and what you do?
Yeah, I think when you put it all together, my work from my favorite job ever was an ice cream shop when I was a teenager, Haagen-Dazs ice cream shop, fun place, lines out the door in the summer, but it was the best place to be. Uh, but I would say from that interaction with community members and people, and then the work at Juvenile Detention Center, which helped me understand the other side of the problems I saw in my community, like really where it originates from. And then I actually did some work in ministry as well. So during that time at Juvenile, I, started working in ministry and shifted and moved to Colorado and went to a Bible college where I learned how to like really form a church and do ministry. To coming back to Chicago and work volunteering at a nonprofit, St. Joseph Services. It was where I first started in nonprofits in '07 as a volunteer to work with kids in an open gym program because everybody they had was terrified of the young men coming in there. But because of my background, I was able to work with them to actually taking that to become a program coordinator, designing programs for community members and then director of programs for that whole West Side, and then community engagement because my job, anybody who works in nonprofit knows that you can't do it alone and that there's never enough resources. But uh, in the environment around you, there's so much out there that when you connect with other people, you collectively have everything that you need. And so I started doing that community engagement work. All that informed this work that I'm doing now as far as understanding the population we serve and their needs, understanding the community, understanding not just the physical needs of people, but also that spiritual, that psychological, and emotional needs that have to be met, and pair that to relationship building and resource alignment for the goal of supporting those folks so that they can move forward and grow. So I think all those pieces have come together, and I think the perfect place for that is Build. Build is such a unique place, and so I'm gonna stop right there.
So, I know you mentioned community service, and when you and I first worked together, I know I was super excited to offer an opportunity that you could join us in this work, and it had just made sense to really kick in as the place of community engagement. But between you and I don't think either one of us really knew what that was going to look like. And um, your first sort of welcome to build and starting a community engagement was a what is now known as Light in the Night experience, and we were in partnership with another organization. But talk a little bit about that because unless you know it, you don't know it. And
Right.
I'm grateful. Let me just say this. The fact that you stayed through that and then be like, you know what, UMFer, you lied to me. You set me up. But you didn't. And but talk about that because I think
Yeah.
it's an incredible thing that happened.
Right. So Lightning Night was this initiative that really was adopted from this project they did in California, where they actually reduced violence in what they call hot spots or hot areas by doing community engagement consistently in an area, not jumping all over the place, but choosing. They did it in parks to make the parks usable for what they're purpose for. And so, that model got adopted to Chicago, but nobody really knew what it was. And like I came in and it was just like, you're doing Light in the Night. And it was that. And just just real basic instructions. And so I had to literally create what that looked like. And at first it started with me just setting up a grill in the middle of Moore Park, that's right near Build, and having a table with some info and tapping onto our Donna Dudley Peace League, and then engaging kids in games and all that. And then when I learned that I had autonomy to use this funding and this money, I went all out. I think it was because all you have to tell me is that I could do what I want and I'm going to do what I want. And so I really thought about it and really before we were jumping around. But the premise though was 3 nights a week, 4 till 11 p.m. from July through basically October. So the hot months in the parks at night. And so I had to figure that all out. At first it was just me. And then I got the intervention team to help me, but they had other stuff. So I had to hire somebody and bring somebody on from the community. But then we took that. And then once I took control over it, because we had a partner, they didn't give us any guidance. And so I was in the absence of avoided leadership, I'm taking leadership. And so we took a park that we identified but through the police department as being an area that when I grew up used to be a mecca for basketball in the Austin neighborhood, Hubbard Play Lot. And that park was desolate because there had been shootings there. It became a war ground. And that's why I said, we're setting up here. And we built what ended up being a nightly festival. I had a stage, I had music, I had entertainment, I had games out there for all ages. We had card games, dominoes, all that, plus kids stuff, plus resource tables. And the premise was instead of organizations always saying we need to bring people to the table, my mentality was let's bring the table to the people. And so what happened over that summer when we first initiated was first people would come out on their porch. We had DJ, music, and everything, and food, and they would come out and see what's happening, but they wouldn't come in the park. Then kids started trickling in. Then teens started trickling in. Then we did tournaments on the court. Then the grandparents started coming over with their babies, with the grandchildren playing on the playground. And then their parents started coming over into the park. And now people brought their lawn chairs. It was wonderful. And then the police department said that during the time that we did Light in the Night, that shootings and violence had dropped by 70%. And that whole part was about bringing people together. But Light and Night was from 4 to 11 at night. But at Build, we had 9 a.m. meetings. So I still was doing 9 a.m. meetings, staying in the park till 11, going to pick up U-Haul trucks, load that every week. And all. It was so much work involved in the hot, in the heat. But I want to say it was one of the most rewarding things that I've done because it demonstrated how you transform a community. And that's through connecting with people and getting people to come out their homes and be a part of it. So it's putting a neighbor into the neighborhood.
And you glossed over it, but you did that Thursday, Friday,
Friday, Saturday night.
Saturday night. So imagine anyone on this call, you committing your evenings, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I know your wife hated me. I apologize to her profusely. But we were younger and a little more scrappier also at that point too, but it was really a great opportunity to get in there and I'm grateful to you, Bradley. And I think that to me, the fact that you didn't run away, um, showed me and I think showed all of us at Bill like how down you were for the work and what mattered most and the transformations that you could see. And Marilyn gave a shout out because Marilyn, you were part of that as well back in the day. And you remember what that was like. Those were startup times, not always easy. So great job, Bradley. So glad you didn't run away after that, or you weren't forced to leave from your better half at home. You talked a little bit about your history. So when would you say that you first got involved in like social justice and community work? Like is there a memory or a specific time you can say it was at this time where I stepped my foot in it?
I think it was when I started working with St. Joseph Services. And I did the open gym program and all that. And these young men, I had to build relationship with them and build trust with them. And then I wanted them to volunteer. So I kind of convinced them to volunteer. I was talking to one, his name is D Ray. I was just talking to him the other day. He was like, Brad, you tricked me. You tricked me. You had us running the gym and all that stuff. And I did. They took ownership of it. However, they came to me and was like, well, look, Bradley, I love volunteering. But my mom telling me I got to have a job. I have to help pay for things. And it made me think about the work that we do and what our young people aren't getting that they really need and crave for. And it's not just like mentoring is important. It's very important. And so you do have to take care of helping guide them and direct them. But there's the immediate needs that need to be met. And then there's the structures around it that impact it. And so what I started to learn was the issues in the schools and how the schools are not prepared to address the needs of our young people. I also learned that many times our government agencies, police departments, and all that. And so I started to see the inputs that were making the problem persist. And so one of it was employment. The other part was the training they needed. The other part was relationships in the community, the police department, and relationships with the schools. But it wasn't until I got to Build that I was able to actively be engaged as a change maker in it.
Awesome. Thank you. So we're going to switch gears on this question. Tell us something that would surprise people to learn about you.
Oh wow. First of all, I think one thing back in my heyday of teen years, I used to do a lot of pop locking and break dancing and,
What?
and tagging. Me and my friend used to, tag trains and all
Only
that stuff.
legal things.
Calls
Only
for a
legal
battle.
things.
That calls for a battle, bro.
All right, I'm going to see Jimmy Ramos and Bradley Johnson
All
battle.
right. Well, if
Call
I get on that
911.
floor,
Get the ambulance
That's exactly. We're gonna have the stretchers out here for you guys.
yeah. I think that's the main thing. That's one of the things. The other thing is just like I'm like, well, maybe that won't be surprising. I like fashion and like art. So I customize my glasses and my shoes often. When people say, "Where you get those from?" They'll never imagine that they didn't look like what they're seeing is not how they came.
That's awesome. Excellent. An artist as well. So talk to us about what you think are important qualities for a leader.
Well, I think number one is you have to have some measure of fearlessness.
Mhm.
Um, because we are in a world that kind of wants to dictate what you can and you can't do in spite of common sense,
Mhm.
in spite of what obviously needs to be done. Sometimes a leader has to be willing to go upstream and against the current to do what needs to be done. And so I think that's important. But also, I think that just the intelligence to know that you need other people. You need a team around you to support you to do that, that you cannot carry everything yourself. You really have to tap into talent and ability around you. My adage is I always use that individually, we all have something. Together, we have everything.
Nice. Is there a leader that you have followed or someone you've looked up to in your own life?
Yeah, my main model was my father. You know, my dad, sixth grade education, but he started his own contracting business. And the way it was a family business. For him to get jobs done, we all had to go to work. So even when I was little, but the way he taught us how to do the work and empowered us to actually own it was amazing. And it was a relational way that he did it. It was a leadership that was a coaching. He also took guys off the block and gave them jobs and taught them how to paint, how to do drywall. You know, he did it all. And so the way incrementally he taught us how to do it. And so he didn't make it where we were dummies if we messed up. He more or less praised us for what we did well, but then says, hey, he'll review it. The next day, he'll say, let me show you something else. You make sure you do this and you do that. And he'll walk away. He's like, now you're cooking. Now you're cooking, and you feel all pumped up. And he walks away. He leaves you to finish it. But the way that he empowered us to be leaders was really important. And so I adopt that kind of mentoring coach mentality, but still holding people accountable. He still held us accountable for what we had to complete and do with a timeline and everything else, but also support to get it done.
Awesome. Um, so do you have a motto or a mantra that can
There's a couple. It's it again, when I talk about my dad, I get it from him. It's what did you learn? Uh, is the number one thing where you're going to make mistakes. You will fail. And what my dad would say was, but what did you learn? If I fell and skinned my knee, he no hugs. He didn't even hand me a Band-Aid, nothing. My mom would do all that. He'll say, so what you learn? And I'm 6 years old crying. He's like, well, go back out there and do it again. Come back and tell. So what did you learn is I think is a thing that is a model that I go by, learning from my mistakes. And that what that does is get you out of the mire of commiserating about a failure or something, but using that as a lesson to learn. And what my father follow up with is because your ass better not get caught the same way again.
What did you learn and don't repeat it again? Love it. Love it. That's awesome. So switching a little bit, here on Build's campus, what would you say is your favorite place or room or space here?
Oh, I love the West Terrace.
Mhm.
And I love it because when I do tours, I love bringing people out there so they could see the community that that I see. You
Mhm.
know, because many times there's a mentality about the West Side, but that West Terrace, you can see downtown.
That's East.
I mean, East Terrace. That's right, East Terrace. East Terrace, where you can see, well, you see, maybe I'm directionally challenged. So, but you could see downtown. And then you can see our media community. You can
Yeah.
see all the assets around it. And I point them all out to people so they could see that our community is amazing. We have so many assets that outweigh, and it's not ignoring that there are problems, but it demonstrates the beauty and the potential, but also how close we are to downtown. So that aspirational view of the world, I think, is what I love about that East Terrace.
Yep. No, I agree. I think it's such a beautiful place. You see everything from that view, the campus and beyond. So I share that with you. What are your dreams and wishes and hopes for Bill?
Wow. I've been talking about this all morning. Really, it's for us to continue the work that we're doing, intentionality behind the product. So for 56 years, we've made significant individual impact. Individuals, there's so many lives that we've impacted and supported and changed. And then I think over the past, I want to say since Adam's been there, essentially. But there's been more of a also a focus on the environment, the
Mhm.
schools, the police department, the physical environment, and everything. So my dreams is that Build will be able to impact, and we will impact the greater environment, so that the work that we've poured into our young people and families, that now the community that they get sent back to is going to match that and support that work and those efforts. And so that's a focus on some of the institutional transformation and change, but also just a way to activate other assets in our community. We do a lot of that through our relationships and partnerships, even with the partners we have within the building as well. That activates them to use their resources to support the needs of our youth and family. And so my vision that Bill will do more of that, but that also at a citywide level, that we'll be able to be structurally indispensable to the city of Chicago as a model for how work is done around youth development. We got a lot of experience, so we're going to be sharing that.
Absolutely. Fantastic. What are your favorite memories of the last 8 years besides Light in the Night, which we hear?
Wow. I mean, there's so many. I
Yeah,
like the events,
yeah.
the marches. I think one thing that stands out was MLK Day. There was a one where the young people, did a march from Build, and this was before the new building, to Christ the King. And they came up with what they wanted, what they needed, the changes they wanted to see to inspire them to like tap into, Martin Luther King's dream, but look at where they are today and what's important to them. So that march, seeing those youth at the forefront. But I think like, man, we've done so many things. It's amazing. Our art shows are amazing. It's hard to even pinpoint. It's like pick a year. But the Summer of Opportunity Festival, I think, is also
Yeah.
a big highlight.
hmm Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's been so many great opportunities. It is tough to kind of pick some of the ones that are the favorite because, the hard work once you put in and kind of see the benefit of it and how the smiles on young people's faces really, it's hard to pick which one. There's so many. Couple more questions. So, you're going to be stewarding Build during a tricky time in this transition and interim period. We know that on the national landscape, it's dismal, right? And we see the current administration making decisions that are impacting our communities. So, how are you thinking about facing, what's ahead of you and Build?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I would say is that when these times are the most difficult, that's what Bill was built for.
Mhm.
That's what we're made for. Bill was born in adversity, a time of adversity. We've endured through time. We've grown through times of adversity. That's like in our DNA. And so I honestly see the events ahead of us. A lot of people are hyper like depressed every time a new edict comes out, a new news thing comes out, something else is said. People are
Yeah.
terrified. But what I see very clearly is this concerted effort to roll back advances
Hmm.
to people's civil liberties and rights and the lives of our community, and then the diverse perspective that's at risk. And so, what I see is this is Bill's time to shine. What we have are thousands of young people we serve. We have families. We have all these folks that we're connected to. Plus, we have an amazing organization, amazing leadership, amazing programs and activities. Now it's about what I see is here's our opportunity for us to activate uh, all these assets that we have in just a focused way to, first of all, to make sure that those in our programs and the services that we provide, that everything is better than top notch.
Hmm.
But also that there's that voice coming out of it from the people that we serve about what's important to them and what they really want and need. And that we'll also be conveying that voice at all the tables that we're at, whether it's at the government tables with the city, the state, federal government, those people that we've made relationships with, but also with the community partners. We're a quarterback, whether we want to be or not, in our community. They rely on us, a lot of community members. When people say, I wish we could, we want to, like we're saying, let's do it. And we put the time in and effort to kind of coordinate those efforts and move it forward. And so what I see is just we will be moving forward with that. The other part is really making sure that we're stable and so strengthening the relationships we already have, making sure that those who support Build are well aware of everything that we're doing and that they're on deck to continue that support. So we're going to push through and push forward.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's great. And I think it is you're right, builds DNA from its early inception. It's who we are. Okay, last question and maybe a couple more. So after a long, hard day, how do you recharge? How does Bradley Johnson get his battery recharged for the next day?
Well, my wife gets mad at me for this. She says I do too much learning. So what I like to do is I have an Audible subscription and I listen to books.
Mm.
I will close my eyes, get in a reclining chair, and put my earphones on, and I listen to books. And then outside of that, I like to go for walks, take the kids out. Like we go, I love to harass my 11 and 13-year-old. That's one of my fun things to do. But also go out walking and just enjoying life and family and all that, because that's what it's all about.
Yep.
So I do want to make sure that I connect back with my family, my children, and all that, and really have time with them and love them and let them love me. And then I'm ready to go the
Mm.
next day.
Awesome. Is there anything else, Bradley, you'd like to share that I have not had a chance to ask you?
Yeah, I think the other part is one thing that I've been focused on. It's been over the last 3 years is like launching entrepreneurship and economic development workforce with our organization. We've done a lot of work in building the individual young person and mental health. We do a lot. However, we have to change the economic circumstances in our community. So we need more businesses. We need more tradespeople. We need more educators and all that. So intentionally offering pathways to those what I call healing careers that are
Mm.
better than living wage, and
Mm.
then also entrepreneurship and business development. So we'll have a community business academy in September, and then also entrepreneurship and wealth education with our youth and family members as well. The goal of breaking the cycle of poverty, generational poverty. We want to end that. And so that's going to be like the thing that I've been working on that I'm really going to push even further.
That's awesome. Um, Thanks for sharing. And I think I'll just add this. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think this is what makes Build special is this opportunity to have a transition call. Right? We've had two. This is our second one, but now this is people getting to really know you. But most organizations don't have the luxury, I will call it, or the foresight maybe of being able to do this. And this matters, right? And in particular, in tough times where things are crazy. So thank you, Bradley, for all the work you are doing at Build. Thank you, Kirsten, for such a smart foresight to say, "Hey, let's bring everyone into a conversation," because it's really easy just to kind of part ways and no one really knows sort of what's happening. And I think we wanted to use this time wisely. Like I said, and thank you, Kirsten, for really thinking it through because it is very smart and it speaks to build stability and just the thoughtfulness that, we want to like communicate what's happening, the transitions, and that things are moving forward in the midst of sort of a transition. But so I'm grateful for that. Kirsten, those are all of my questions. I know we're at time, but maybe there's a few other questions that came up.
Yeah. Yeah. If anyone has any questions for Bradley, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. He may not be this open again. This might be your shot. I know I have one while people are thinking, Bradley, is that you currently have served as Chief Community Officer at Build, which has meant that you are the man at all of the meetings across all of the places and all of the faith communities and the chambers and the councils and all those things. And what do you take from all of those tables back to being Build's head?
Yeah, I think that was almost like a university, not graduate, doctorate level learning from being in the community. What that does is actually help to guide what we're doing because you could nonprofits traditionally we delve into our work but it's within our walls and we're working hard, but it's very rare that you have a ear and feet and people out externally to hear what's happening and going on so that we can be responsive. And so what I think is that those relationships actually is going to be helpful. There's nothing better than having a great network success. What I've learned about success, and definitely for me, was my ability to call somebody and they take my call
Mhm.
because I have a relationship with them. You'd be amazing what you could get done when people know you and they respect you. And so I think that that part will translate well as CEO to to the betterment of the organization. We'll be able to move the needles on some things and be at tables that we wouldn't have been at. So it just opens up opportunity for the organization and within the community also because you have to have skin in the game. And I think in a lot of ways, earning skin in the game, earning a right to be in Austin, a right to be on the West Side, the right to be called a neighbor and a stakeholder is not something you take lightly. And as a CEO, that's very important because that's your for better word, constituency. Those are the people that make or break you in that organization and your impact and your effectiveness. And so I just say all those meetings, I won't be at all of them. I've been developing people along the way to do that so that I don't have to be at everything. But I do want to be involved in some things, but it's got to be very strategic to furthering the transformation in our mission.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one thing you do lose when you sit down in the top spot is you can't go to all the meetings yourself anymore. And I know that makes you sad. Any other questions from the group? Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We will be posting this recording on our YouTube channel to share. And Adam, your last day is Friday. Bradley, your first day is
Friday,
Monday.
Monday. I
That's
love
right.
it.
And speaking on behalf of the Build staff, I know we feel lucky to have an interim CEO who knows us as well as Bradley knows us. So as the search goes on, we are in a great place. So thank you for that.
Marilyn, were you going to say something?
I asked, did I miss the celebration? Did I miss the party?
No, that's tomorrow.
Okay.
Everyone's
No,
invited.
Friday,
5
Friday,
o'clock.
Friday.
Friday.
Oh, Friday, right.
Friday.
I have 2 more days left. Sorry.
Okay, okay. Make sure I get that invite to the party.
We'll
Oh,
get you an invite after this call,
yeah,
Marilyn.
you just come by build 5 to 8.
Five
Okay,
to
okay,
We'll
eight.
be here.
okay.
Music, food,
Yeah.
beverages,
Mhm.
and it is a cruise ship. It is a Bon Voyage theme, so feel free to
Okay.
come dressed
On the
appropriately.
button, yeah, yes, yes.
Awesome.
Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this team that we know is going to be so strong going forward. So appreciate you and have a good rest of your day.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
You
you,
too.
thank
Take
you.
care.
This is
Bye.
awesome. This was great.